Hi BookTube, Aaron here. Hope you're doing very well. Today I'm going to do a tag for Tag Tuesday. It's only just still Tuesday here, I think, so I'm hoping it'll still be Tuesday by the time this is uploaded. But regardless, I'm going to be doing the chess tag. This is a tag that was created by Aaron from Aaron Read a Book or Aaron Read a Book. And I was tagged in his original video, and also Reading Ideas also tagged me, and so I'll have both of their videos down in the description. And it's a tag video where chess pieces are the prompts. So we'll jump right in. So the first prompt is Pawn, a book about a lowly character who rises through the ranks. And with this, I thought I'd go with Earthsea. So I've got the first 4 books here, all bound up together. And I was thinking of the at least the main characters in the first book and a principal character as the series goes on, called Ged. And we meet him as a young boy in the first book, and he's a goat herd from a lowly sort of peasant family on an island that I suppose people don't really think that highly of. And he has, I suppose, certain abilities, and he's sort of, I don't know how to put it. He he has an aptitude with the magic system that works in Earthsea. It sort of works by knowing the true names for things, and then you can sort of control them a bit. And so he's sort of quite virtuosic with this, and if that's the right word. And so he sort of goes from mentor to mentor, and eventually sort of ends up in a wizard school. And when we follow him, and he basically becomes like the greatest wizard that's ever been, or one of the greatest wizards that's ever been. And he ends up, I think by the 3rd book, becoming the archmage. So he's kind of the top dog as far as wizards are concerned. And then he has a kind of rise and fall as well. But the great thing with him is that he has this this story of a kind of a rise to power, but he's constantly battling with his own pride, and that's the sort of main tension for him really throughout the whole books really. And maybe the sort of main point of his character is I suppose the pride that comes with power, and learning how to overcome it, or at least keep it at bay. And so he's a really quite interesting character, and a very different kind of protagonist for a novel. So I was really intrigued by him when I was reading those books. And number 2 is Rook, a book that features a castle, a tower, or a chariot. I thought I'd go with a book that had castle in the title, and there are plenty to go with. I went with The Castle of Otranto by Horace Walpole. This is the first Gothic novel in English, and it's just a crazy, crazy little story. I can't remember tons about it. There's these random details, but it's about a spooky old castle and an old family living in it, and crazy supernatural things happening in the old castle. And it just sort of kick-started the kind of Gothic movement in English literature. And it's one I'd like to reread actually. Maybe I'll do a big Gothic rereading project at some point. Number 3 is Night, a book about an animal or animals, and you get bonus points if it's a horse. I thought I'd go with a bit of a weird answer. It's kind of about an animal, I suppose. It's more about a person who turns into an animal, and it's a story, or kind of partly turns into an animal actually. It's a story by uh, Ryunosuke Akutagawa called Horse Legs. So I suppose you can kind of guess what happens to the main character. He finds that he's grown horse legs, or through a really weird series of events, he ends up with horse legs. Um, and the just really weird, I suppose, absurdity to the story is that he's trying to hide his horse legs because of the dishonor and the shame that might befall him if people found that he had horse legs. And then as it goes on and on and on, it turns out he begins acting more and more like a horse, and all he really wants to do is go out and sort of run free. And it's such a really weird story, very sort of Gogol-esque and very Kafka-esque, I suppose. Um, so yeah, it's kind of got a horse in it, or someone on their way towards horsedom. Number 4 is Bishop, a book that features religious characters or members of a church, and you get bonus points for a bishop. I'm wondering whether you can kind of one up that and you get even more bonus points for an archbishop. And I've gone with Murder in the Cathedral by T.S. Eliot, and it's about the murder of Thomas Becket, who, when he died, he was Archbishop of Canterbury, and yeah, sort of that sort of famous story, where now that the camera's on, I'm going to forget the quote, but essentially the king offhandedly said, what was it? When will somebody rid me of this? What is it? Anyway, it was a kind of rhetorical question, and some of his knights kind of took it a bit too literally, and took it as sort of agency to go and assassinate him, and he was assassinated um, in Canterbury Cathedral. I think at the altar, but I might be wrong. And T.S. Eliot wrote a play about it, and it's very T.S. Eliot. The language is um, it is beautiful, and it's, I suppose, not as direct, and as with the subject matter, you might expect it to be maybe quite political, give you some background and stuff like that. Whereas really it's just about more or less the day that it happens, and um, I suppose the people at the church and Becket finding out, that that there's a high possibility of the king wanting to get rid of him because he's kind of overreaching, and him reflecting on that, and then the whole crisis with the knights coming. But there are some really beautiful passages in there. Number 5, Queen, a book with a strong female character. I suppose, since it's really the strongest piece on the board. I could have gone in so many different directions with this. I went with Les Miserables by Victor Hugo, and I was thinking of the character of Eponine, who has, I think when you think about it, quite a crazy, kind of mixed up life. She's sort of, I suppose, initially grows up in a kind of lower middle class kind of family with her parents owning an inn, and she's sort of catered to and has more or less everything that she'd want, and then they fall into despondency and live in a tenement, and yeah, her parents aren't terribly nice to her, and she's kind of running wild a bit, I suppose. And then she just has this really wonderful redemption arc, and this really, I suppose, kind of stereotypical, I don't know, kind of unrequited love. But out of all of the female characters, and out of many of really all of the characters in Les Miserables, I think Eponine is probably one of the characters who shows the most grit and the most authenticity and the most honesty. On the whole, I think she's a really incredible character, and she certainly outshines the main love interest, Cosette. I think, yeah, Eponine was just an incredible character. I was going to say something, but I won't because I don't want to spoil the book. Number number 6, a book about a monarch or ruler. It was very tempting just to go with Shakespeare for this, but instead I went with The Little Prince by, let's see if we can get the name, Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Terrible pronunciation, and just by the fact that I'm expecting to pronounce it badly, I put all the more pressure on myself and then pronounce it even worse. But I suppose you have the prince in the title. But I was really thinking of when he's going from star to star and he meets the king there. That's really who I was thinking of. Let's see if I can find the picture of the king. Yeah, there's the king, and he's not really got much to rule over, but he believes that everything is really in his dominion, and he sort of bids everything do whatever it's really going to do anyway. But yeah, I suppose then with the prince himself, you can see, I suppose, as he's visiting all these people on these different stars, he's seeing kind of in some way the futility of the way some grown-ups act, and also seeing maybe the kind of person that he doesn't want to be, and he's he could be stuck on his own little planet, going as as mad as some of the eccentric characters on their little planets. And yeah, instead he goes out and explores and has to deal with the consequences of that. But yeah, you can take it two ways. We can go with the prince, or we can go with the king that he goes to visit. But yeah, a couple of rulers, and I suppose they both give you a little bit to think about. I'll leave it there, but we're left with one prompt at the end, en passant, which is to tag some people. I'm going to tag 3 people who I don't believe have been tagged yet, or at least I haven't seen that they've done this tag yet. So I'll tag Brindis from Brindis Reads a Lot, and then while we're with people with Reads a Lot in the title, I'll tag Sandy from Ms. Reads a Lot, and I'll also tag David Wiley as well. I haven't seen him do a tag for a while. I think he's been a bit busy, but it seems very much like the kind of tag that he'd enjoy. And so I'll leave it there. And for now, have a great rest of your week, and I'm sure I'll see you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.